Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This is my boomstick.
Here's Johnny.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Righteous! Righteous! Yeah!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Houston, we have a problem.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
All right.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Those Film Nerds podcast. My name is Will Spalding, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the great and wonderful Sam Dierberger. Sam, how you doing?
How are we doing today, Will? I'm doing well.
Good. You know, we just we got through the holiday season, or we're at least rounding that corner going into the new year. It feels, you know, as great as the holiday season is, it feels good to get out of it. You know.
Yep.
You kind of you're in it, and then it's good to be out of it, though. So.
It is. It takes you out of decent time for a little bit.
Right.
But then again, this year has been one long miserable holiday season. That's how I would describe 2020 as like, you know, those last few days where you're still on break from the holiday. It's like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what do I do with my life? That's this year.
That's 2020. Nice. Well, I'm afraid to say that I think it's going to carry over into 2021 as well. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to turn off. And
oh my God,
that means no movies. As we were just talking, you know, we were discussing what we were going to do next week.
Right.
And Sam, you had asked, is Promising Young Woman getting a digital release? Because, you know, theaters aren't open where we're at. And that's not the case, which is unfortunate. But
yes,
I think next week, unless we pull an audible, we're going to go with The Midnight Sky, the George Clooney movie, a space movie of sorts. But we're not here to talk about next week quite yet.
Yes.
We're here to talk about this week. And Sam, what do we got this week?
This week we are talking about Soul.
What is this place?
What's your name, honey?
I'm Joe. I teach middle school band. Connie, go for it.
Soul. Pixar's new Soul.
Yes.
Man, lots to talk about here. Definitely a lot to unpack and discuss. And we will get to that. We'll get to that in the review portion. But just real quick, let's just slightly go over some industry news, although there really is not much. As there never is.
No,
as there should
no.
be, because nothing's really going on. But I want to talk
exactly.
Two things. Sam, do you have anything?
I have something briefly. I'm not sure if it's the same thing as yours.
Okay.
But
you go first. Go first.
You should go ahead first.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we had the COVID-19 relief bill early last week, just to date this podcast a little bit. And there's actually a second one being discussed right now, but that doesn't look like it's going to have so many business bailouts. But so it says here on Screen Rant that AMC theaters can't receive funding from the COVID-19 relief bill. It says AMC theaters won't benefit from the recent COVID-19 relief bill as it only guarantees funds for small theaters and entertainments. So basically AMC is too big to be bailed. And I shouldn't say it's a bailout necessarily, because, you know, in half the states, you know, the theaters are closed or limited. So, you know, it's not like they're going out of business necessarily. It's that, you know, the government is stopping them from having people in the theater.
Right.
But yeah, this one, this might be the last nail in the coffin for AMC.
That's unfortunate. AMC is one of the big chains. We don't have one necessarily super near us, but you know, those are everywhere in the United States. So that sucks. That definitely sucks. And I think
Yes.
and that's one of the big chains. I think the small, you know, family run theaters, I mean, those you have to expect will be dying out.
Yeah. I mean, like the article says, I mean, the small independently owned theaters are getting relief from this bill, but
Right. But
potential or
who
sustainable.
knows how much that'll do exactly. I guess this my one of my things kind of ties directly into this. And this is, we don't have to talk much about this because it's not much to say, but the 2020 box office is expected to be down 30 billion from 2019, which is an insane amount of money, which is absolutely nuts. Like,
That's insane.
Like
That is
Avengers
insane.
Endgame, the highest grossing movie of all time, if you made 11 of them, it still wouldn't make up for 2019's numbers, which is just nuts. Absolutely crazy. Man, that is so crazy. I mean, that's so much money you can't even comprehend it, obviously. So not much to say there other than
well, we can't do it. We can't do it all ourselves.
Right.
We tried, but we can't make up for that.
Exactly.
I mean, you go to the theaters frequently.
Yep.
And I go somewhat frequently. And
still weren't able to carry over to get into the black of that 30 billion. So we'll do better.
We tried.
We'll do better next year. Sam, last little bit here of industry news, and it kind of relates to Soul, relates to Pixar.
Yeah.
I'm not. This came out maybe 8 days ago. We had done our last episode, and I didn't want to talk about it yet because I wasn't really sure what to make of it, and I'm still really not sure what to make of it. So you'll have to tell me what your thoughts are. We have a new Pixar movie, 2022. I believe is what this is saying. Yeah. All right. 2022, I think. We have coming from Pixar Studios a Buzz Lightyear spin-off movie.
Yes. I remember reading about this.
So it stars Chris Evans, so that's cool.
Yeah.
From my understanding, this is kind of slightly confusing, but here's the plot or the premise of it. It's nothing related to Toy Story, the 4 Toy Story movies. It's a movie about the toy Buzz Lightyear. So the movie pretend we're in the Pixar universe or whatever. We're living in the Pixar universe, and a movie called Buzz Lightyear comes out. And it's the biggest thing ever. And then they make Buzz Lightyear toys, which.
I see. I see.
This is more like this is kind of like a prequel. So this is the Buzz Lightyear movie that created the Buzz Lightyear toys.
Yes. So it's not the same character as Tim Allen's Buzz Lightyear.
It is not.
That makes sense. Because there was a movie that came out in 2000. I remember watching this as a child. It was a direct-to-video animated film from Disney and Pixar, and it's called Buzz Lightyear of Star Command: The Adventure Begins. And it was basically what you were describing, but it was the animation in it is not like what you would see in a Pixar movie. It's like really dated, old-fashioned animation.
I'm
It's
looking
very
at
strange.
it now.
It's
I'm
not
looking
computer
at it now.
generated. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was pretty good from what I remember, actually. I really enjoyed it. But yeah. So I don't
Well, it
I
was
think
still made
they've
by Pixar. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they pursued it before, you know. I think this could possibly be a remake or something like, you know, in that vein. And it makes sense, you know, because at the time, I mean, this was 2000, so like the first Toy Story had come out,
The first
but
two.
it didn't really. The first two.
Yeah. Toy Story 2 was 1999, I believe.
Oh, look at that. Okay. So maybe it did kind of have the cultural following that it does now, but yeah, it makes sense. This project makes sense.
So it sounds like you're a little bit more on board than I am. I don't know if I want this. You know, even Toy Story 4 was kind of a question mark, like, do we really need this? This seems like I don't know what to make of this at all. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, really.
I never bothered to watch Toy Story 4. I didn't really have any interest. Mostly because I thought 3 had the perfect ending.
Oh, 3 does have a great ending.
I thought it was perfect. I thought 3 was a great movie, you know. So
Well, it's just called 2022. It's called Lightyear. Interesting. It says the definitive origin story of the original Buzz Lightyear that reveals how the young test pilot became a space ranger he is today. The film will be the same crowd pleasing. Okay. Yeah, this will be interesting. I'm not sure what to make of it. I guess we'll see in 2 years. But hey, it's Pixar. Should we trust them?
should we trust it? I mean, based on what we saw in Soul, we should probably, you know.
And Sam, with that being said, should we get into talking Soul?
Yeah, let's talk Soul.
Today started out as the best day of my life.
Back here tonight, first show's at 7.
Yes! Woohoo! You know what that's gonna say? Joe Gardner.
Must have been sudden for you.
Soul. Here we are,
Soul.
man. I guess let's go. I mean, this is obviously a casualty of COVID. I mean, we should have seen this months ago in summer.
Right.
But yeah, I guess let's go over our anticipation for this. You know, or what's your background with Pixar? This is the first Pixar we've talked on.
Yeah.
So you know, Sam, kind of give me your anticipation for this and your background with Pixar.
I think this is the first animated film we've reviewed on here, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, cool. There we go.
Look at that. Good start. It's a good one to start with. I mean, so this is kind of funny. I'm looking at Pixar's, you know, history starting with Toy Story all the way through Soul now. You know, like every film they have produced. And I'm looking at the box office gross worldwide. And, you know, the first few, you know, $300 million, you get into like Toy Story 3, over $1 billion. But, you know, they're all like anywhere from 500 to $1 billion,
right?
You know, in the last decade. You get to Soul, $7,600,000.
That is good. I'm surprised it has that much, to be honest. I didn't know it was in any theaters.
It's impressive. I mean, like I said earlier, you know, half the country's open with theaters. Like,
yeah.
And, you know, anyone, if kids are bored, you know, parents are going to take them to see this movie if there is a, but
yeah,
my God, 76. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, you know, Pixar in terms of kids movies. I mean, people talk about Disney all the time, you know, the traditional Disney films, which I don't think I ever really appreciated nearly enough. And I think that's mostly because the earlier ones were comprised of princesses, which is not very appealing to a young boy.
You're right.
But Pixar just has a history of making really excellent story based films with, you know, cutting edge technology in terms of animation. And I don't really know anyone who dislikes all Pixar movies. You know, we all have our favorites and our least favorites, but
Right.
everyone has favorite Pixar movie. I think.
What, Sam? What is
Right.
your favorite Pixar?
Oh, The Incredibles.
Okay,
It's not even close. It's really not close.
good,
Uh,
nice. Well, Incredibles is my number 4, so it's up there.
What? We should we should maybe by the end of the show we should put in, or I guess like kind of discern where Soul would rank in
Okay.
Pixar lists.
I
guess.
have my ranking, so I will share that. Yeah. My favorite, for anyone wondering, is Toy Story 2, but we'll get into that later.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Rewatching Toy Story 2, I'm like, this is the best one. But anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, so
Wow.
Pixar is, you know, you're right, Sam. Like the classic Disney movies are very, they're all about the same, or they're similar enough. And Pixar is just so good at telling stories and unique stories. They're all different from one another, like, and just the most bonker premises ever that you would never
Yes.
think would work. Like the Toy Story premise is just ridiculous. How toys come to life. Wall-E, for example, is like Wall-E should not work at all, but it's incredible. The Incredibles, your favorite, is a very unique take on the superhero genre.
Yes.
So yeah, they managed to impress almost every time. There's a few stinkers, but not many.
Yeah.
And Soul is not much different, really. I mean, you go into this and you're like, so we have a jazz band teacher, okay, and he's trying to find his soul, like that just, as a kids movie, you're like, that doesn't sound very good, you know. But put it in the hands of Pixar, and it just blows my mind. You know, I'd been anticipating this for almost a year now, so to not get too far into what I thought, I was pleasantly surprised. I like this.
Yeah. I mean, I think we both did. And you know, the interesting thing about it is, you know, you look at Pixar as a company, they've made what, you know, how many movies have they made? Like 20, 25,
23, something like that.
23. They've made 23 movies. They've been in existence since like 1996, right?
Yeah, Toy Story, the original Toy Story, first Pixar movie, was 95.
They produce less than a movie every year. You know, like, and they're a major company. We're not talking about like an A24 circa 2011 production company here. I mean, they have grossed literally tens of billions of dollars at the box office. And it's just a testament to how much they care about the quality of their movies, is that they're focused like on one project all at once. I mean, they have it compartmentalized, obviously, but they have like hundreds of people project ensuring its quality. And you know, Soul is no different. And it's really too bad that we didn't see this in the summer.
Oh man,
because I think it would have been a really good summer movie.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
It works fine around Christmas time.
Yeah. You're right though. In the summer,
You know, like, you know, the sense of rebirth and everything, but
Right.
whatever.
As soon as it ended too, I said out loud, I'm like, man, I would have loved to have seen that in the theater. Like that would have just been awesome. But you know, I'll take my TV in my living room, I guess. But
It's
so
fine.
let's get into our general thoughts. And I'll start us off. You know, what can be said that hasn't already said? Like the animation is so gorgeous. I can't.
Yes.
You look at a person like, let's just say Joe Gardner. You look at him and you're like, well, it's obviously, I mean, they're made to look like a cartoon character. But then you look at like the pianos and the trombones and the trumpets and
Yes.
the leaves, and I'm like, and water. I'm like, that just looks like water and a piano. Like, it looks real, which blew my mind. And
it's like on this line between, like, it's like you said, it's still obvious that it's animated, but they indulge in that animated caricature so well.
right, exactly.
Like, they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna make his shape a little disproportionate, like his face is gonna be super thin, but like, we're gonna make the skin look so lifelike and his eyes are so real,
Right. It's incredible.
It's crazy. And every year, Pixar just ups its game in animation.
For sure. Absolutely.
It
And
just keeps getting better and better.
I was blown away. I wasn't sure with the trailers going into it. I was like, is the before, what did they call the land where souls try to get their personalities? It's like the before Earth. What?
The pre-orientation zone.
Yeah.
Something
U
like that.
seminar. The U seminar or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. U seminar.
So yeah, those like the Jerrys or whatever and Terry, like they're made to look like, but they're animated in a way that just looks like a 4-year-old drew them. And I wasn't sure if that would work, but I was like, man, that totally works when I was watching the movie. I wasn't sure if that would get old, and it didn't. It was super creative and super cool. But yeah, I would just say generally, I thought the narrative worked well. I thought the animation was absolutely gorgeous. And obviously the themes, which we'll talk about later, were brilliant. But Sam, what are your general thoughts on Soul?
I thought, the storyline, it's kind of hard for me to articulate, and I don't think I explained it very well in my initial review, but again, those were initial thoughts. But anyway, I think that the premise and the mechanics of the story are very interesting, and I think that the storyline itself is kind of okay, like just kind of predictable, like it's the storyline has been done before, but the story itself is completely different and unlike anything I've ever seen. Does that make any sense to you?
No, I get that. Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Like it's so hard to explain. And that's probably like my one gripe with the movie, because like you said, everything else is fantastic. The themes are probably, this movie is probably the most philosophical movie that Pixar has ever made.
Right.
It's kind of a lot for even a kid.
I was going to say, this is almost an
really
adult movie.
It really is. Like, I mean, it is literally about life and death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally. And Pixar has tackled that before, it was an Up, there's death that is prevalent in their films, but
nothing to the extent of this.
Nothing like this.
Right.
Nothing at all. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is really impressive, and I probably need to watch it again. More than any other movie this year, I want to see it again.
Sure.
It was that enjoyable.
Absolutely. Well, where do we go into this? Do we dissect the plot? Do you want to get into why it doesn't work in some parts, or should we jump straight to the themes, or what do we want to do here? How do we? Because there's so much to talk about here.
there's just so much, and I don't think we can properly sum it up.
Right.
But if we start with just the beginning here, the beginning of the movie, a lot happens in that first 10 minutes. So much happens. And you know, so much happens that you don't even realize, like, oh, we haven't seen the opening credits yet. And then the opening credits just pop up and you're like, what? What?
I got to that point too, and I was like, wait, what? That's crazy. Yeah. That's just
so much. And what's that?
That's just efficient storytelling in my eyes.
It really is. It really is. But so from the beginning, we have Joe, who basically in the first 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes of this movie, we see him teaching a class. He gets offered full-time tenure to teach at a middle school, teaching music. He goes to his seamstress mother, who objects to him not wanting this tenure, like basically set for life, just teaching at a middle school. You know, it's not a rich living by any means, but it's a steady living.
Right.
And we find out that he's been basically a failed musician his entire life, a struggling musician. And then a former student just tells him, hey, you're going to be, we want you to play with Dorothea Williams tonight, who is apparently a big deal. And then he impresses Dorothea with his piano playing, is offered the job on the spot, and then he runs down the street, falls into a manhole, and dies. And that was all in the first 10 minutes.
Right. I should say, I thought the opening of him, you know, in the middle school band, you know, teaching middle school band, was absolutely hilarious. You know, it starts and we don't even see it. It's just music playing. You can tell it's horns, and you can kind of tell it's some sort of jazz variant of some kind. But it's awful, and you're like, what is going on right now? This is terrible. Like, this is actually bad. And then it cuts to a classroom of kids, and you're like, okay, that is funny. And they're awful. But yeah, that
and the Disney castle too. They play the Disney theme. That was so good. That was amazing. It's like a crappy band jazz rendition of the Disney theme.
Yeah, I loved every part of it. And yeah, that first 10 minutes are just efficient storytelling. I loved just hanging out with Joe Gardner, honestly. I loved hanging out with him. I thought that was awesome. And then we go to the U seminar. And this is the part of the movie that I was most hesitant with, kind of like I said earlier. I wasn't sure how this was going to work. Was it going to be too kiddish or goofy? I wasn't sure. And I thought everything in the U seminar was very good. I thought it was funny. Some of the funnier parts were in there. I thought it was really well done. I'm gonna, let's get into spoilers. We'll just say spoilers.
Oh, okay.
We can talk a little bit more about the U seminar in a bit, but I just want to say my one complaint with Soul, we end up getting Joe and 22 back to Earth, which was a clever and interesting way to do it, and also pretty funny with the kind of the hippie dude.
Mm-hmm.
And my one complaint was I felt that we spent too much time with 22 in Joe Gardner's body.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yes.
I like towards the end of that, I was like, okay, come on, let's wrap this up just a little bit. Sorry, I covered a lot of ground right there, right? But I wanted to make sure I said that before I forgot it.
Yes, that's important.
What do we think of, or Sam, what do you think of U seminar plus 22 in Joe Gardner's body?
Well, okay, so initially with the U seminar, I thought that it was because again, we first see the U seminar 10 minutes into the movie, and it's like, whoa, it's a lot because it's all hypothetical. Like it's all just, it's not tangible. It's not real.
It's made up. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's like so conceptual, So initially I was like, what is going on? This is not like, it's very hard to connect with characters that are, little blobs and lines in the sky. Like
Right.
it's just, it looks like an acid trip, like, it's like, I'm like, I can barely connect with these people. How are children going to connect with these people?
Right.
These kids are going
Right.
to watch this movie. And then you slowly, you understand, you can connect with the characters because we've already met Joe. And then we have, all the Jerrys, and then we have Terry, who's actually very funny.
Which was
I thought that voice work was really funny.
Yeah.
But Rachel House is her name. It was actually a woman playing Terry.
I thought
But,
Terry was the funniest part of the movie, to be honest.
Yes.
It was
Looking
awesome.
through all the files.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those visuals are so like, how do you explain it? The visuals are so trippy,
Yeah.
like there's so much stuff going on, and it's not clear like what these spirit people can and cannot do.
It's
You
not,
know,
and
they're
not
just,
a
like,
lot is
float.
explained about them, which I actually lot. They're kind of mysterious. We're not really sure what they're doing.
Yeah.
What they are really.
Yeah, it was strange, but we slowly got around to it, and we started enjoying it. But yeah, so that was the U seminar, and then we have this whole elongated sequence where 22 is in Joe's body, and for some reason, I agree with you. I thought that kind of dragged down the movie.
Felt like
And
manufactured.
for some reason. Yes, exactly. I felt like that whole like someone is in someone else's body is such a overused trope.
Yeah, agreed.
And it would have been funny for like, a little 2-minute sequence where it's like, you're in my body and this is weird, and then they like, figure a way to switch them or whatever. But it's fine. But yeah, that went on for too long. And we also have this sequence with while 22 is in Joe's body, he has a student, Connie, play a trombone solo for him, and it's kind of good. And there's this weird, like, I would call that a weird scene because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right.
We should say what,
because she says she wants to quit. I don't know.
I guess Joe in cat form. We should was kind of like saying, she always is kind of over dramatic, but the trombone is her thing. I think that's essentially what it was. Connie just needed someone to tell her that she's good and that she should keep doing it. And we should say, like you said, the trombone was good. I thought the music in this was great. I loved the music scenes.
Yes.
I love jazz, so that's one thing. But I thought the music was well done, which is almost necessary for a movie like this when music is a pretty titular, almost character in itself in the movie. So
and I liked that the title soul works well, has multiple meanings.
Yeah, it's a double meaning.
People don't talk about the title because you have the soul of Joe, like his soul, and then you also have like put soul into the music.
Right.
You want your soul invested in it. It works really well.
Absolutely. And really this is the point of the movie. I think, when he's talking, well, I should say when 22 is talking to Joe's mom about like what he believes he's for, like what he's doing with his life, like what makes him happy, what makes him feel important. That's where the movie, I think it was already good for me. I already liked it, and then it just upped another level in that scene, with him telling his mom all of this stuff, and then it just kept on building off of that. It kept on going with more of the thought provoking nature and the emotions in it, and like you're saying, the philosophical aspects, and definitely the more parts, like what is a soul, or like what's it doing, that kind of thing. So about 2/3 in, it hit another level, and the third act was absolutely fantastic, and loved every second of it. So Sam, why don't let's finish up with the story aspect of Soul, and then go into what it's trying to say or what it means. So I want to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
I know you have a lot to say.
Yes, I have many a thought on that, but so about the storyline ending, right?
Yeah, let's get into that.
Basically, it's difficult to kind of sum up, but basically Joe is successful in sending 22 to Earth and making her become a human being and living a life. And for that, he gets rewarded by the Jays, the gods or whatever, to get another chance at life. And it's so interesting too, because I suppose this gets into some of the philosophical aspects of the movie, but I thought it was strange. It kind of flipped the script on the traditional ending to a movie, because Joe doesn't really learn anything from this experience other than I should live life to the fullest. But it's not like before all these events, like he wasn't living life to his fullest. Like, it's not like he was miserable before. He died, or he almost died falling into the manhole because he was excited about a new gig he had coming up. Like, it's not like he attempted suicide, like it's not like he learned anything. So it really flips the script on, the traditional ending
Agreed.
To a movie like this.
He's not a Scrooge or anything who hates everything. He likes living. He wants to keep living, and he's a good person, and he wants to continue to be this good person. Although I will say he does kind of learn to, a little bit, especially with the scene with the barber, that, maybe I should care a little bit about others and be more personable. He does learn a little bit, but it's not the central thing, is that he learned something. So you are right that it does flip the script a little bit and kind of defy that trope almost. So that was cool as well. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Did you think that the ending was just a little abrupt? I thought it was pretty abrupt.
I would too. Jerry is asking him, like, or Jerry says, "Hey, you can go back to Earth." And then, by the way, funny little bit with Terry and Jerry again, when they distract him and he's confused, but they just do the count. That was awesome. That
was funny.
He just he says, "I'm gonna go back to Earth," and then she asks, like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "Not really sure, but I'm gonna do it to the fullest," and then it's done.
It literally just cuts. I was like, what?
And I was like, okay. It was effective, but I was like, I want to know what he's gonna do. I want more.
Yeah, I thought there would be a little montage of him
doing something,
doing stuff. He starts playing piano. Maybe he learns how to balance teaching at school and also having gigs at night, so he's like doing both with like full passion. That would have really sealed the movie. That would have summed it up.
And I think we got a little bit of that when he was kind of looking back at his life and, like, he's riding his bike, or he's going to the jazz concert with his dad, or he's playing piano with his dad, or he's sitting on the beach with his mom. I think we got a little bit of that there, which that sequence was so well executed. And like what I was talking about earlier with the water, like the water going over his feet. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you get any?
Yeah.
Oh man, it looked incredible.
Yeah.
I can't say that.
Well, and the other thing about that is, this is the other place where it kind of flips the script. Okay. When Jerry or when there's a point in the movie about 2/3 of the way through where Joe is certain, he says with absolute certainty that his spark, like the thing that gets him going in life, is playing music. Like he says that with absolute certainty.
The piano.
I thought at that point, oh my God, at that point, that means traditionally in this kind of archetypal story, he's wrong about that. And he's going to discover that his spark is actually teaching. I thought that's where it was going to go. And he didn't know, he just didn't know it, like he didn't really invest his time. Really, he's passionate about teaching, because that entire time, what is he doing? He's teaching 22 about living.
Right. Well, and
I thought that's exactly where it was going to go.
And even we have hints of Curly, that band member, the drummer, telling him like, "Hey, Mr. Gardner, you're the only reason I ever went to music school, because you're my favorite teacher." Like we have all. You're right. We have all these hints that he is a great teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam, no.
What else do you want to say about the philosophical context or the what does soul mean? What else do you want to say about it?
Yeah, well, jumping off of that then, we discover that shortly after Joe makes this comment, Jerry looks at him and says, just because it's your spark doesn't mean it's your purpose in life.
Right.
Just because it's your spark doesn't mean you're actually going to do it. And that is where I was like, this movie philosophically is next level, because it's not a simple, I was born to do this.
Right.
That I was born with this ability and I can choose to use it or not. And I'm kind of free to choose my own path.
Which is where I thought the movie was going. So I was surprised that it didn't go that way.
I really thought it was going to the teaching, but what I thought was really cool was that it's it kind of, there's a school of thought and philosophy called existentialism. And this is the idea that, there's really no preordained purpose. You kind of have to invent it for yourself.
Right.
And that's kind of what the movie is espousing, right? It's like, yeah, he has this raw natural ability, but it's only through his choices that he decided to really use them, and same thing with 22. She doesn't know really what she's for, but she chooses to experience it anyway. And that's what's so interesting about the movie is Joe is, as I alluded to earlier, Joe is literally confronted with a life or death situation.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, would I rather continue to suffer in life, have no experience at all?
Right.
And that that more or less is what the question of suicide. It's like, do I continue to live and suffer, or do I just experience nothing?
And he had a slightly different choice, because he knew he could give 22 the life that she deserved as well. So
yes,
that's again an interesting topic. And I thought that sequence,
but he was only motivated
because he didn't like his
yeah.
So yeah, I suppose you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say I really did like the part where he saves 22 as well. And they're kind of talk together. Um, and we learned she's finally ready to go to Earth, and that last box is not, like you were saying, is not your purpose. It's just you're ready to live, essentially. So yeah, there's a lot to unbox here. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Sam?
Well, the other thing that's really interesting is the that space that Moonwind occupies, which good voice acting by Graham Norton, by the way.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we should say the entire voice cast was incredible.
It was really good.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
really good. But yeah, this space that where it's like flow. There's a term in psychology called flow, where like the idea is you're happiest when you're not thinking and you're just fully engaged in this task.
Yep.
And they were able to symbolize that through, these are people who are in the peak of life, like they are just fully living.
Right.
I loved that concept. That worked so well.
Yeah, and that world, or like that area in the before world, whatever, was A, was cool looking, but B, it was, like you said, such a cool concept, and was done so well inside of that world. I really liked every part in that. I thought, kind of just going backwards a little bit, like her 22 like throwing sand at the people was hilarious. That one of them was a New York Nick was just, that was so funny.
Yes.
There's so many little things like that just made this movie for me. And yeah, you're right. It's such a that like limbo state of either A, you're lost, or B, you're 100% found, whatever you're doing. Is such an interesting idea, and how you can kind of convert from one to the other even too was also interesting.
Exactly.
So yeah, man,
the whole concept of the lost souls, really well done.
Yeah.
Like, and it says something about it. It makes a little side comment about technology.
Right.
People who are lost souls are just completely immersed in this technology, and they don't know why they're living, and they're just miserable as a result of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just really high concept, like stuff God. For a kid's movie. Like, it's not a simple, like, life is amazing because people love you. It wasn't that simple. It was like, Joe Gardner, his life sucks, man, but he's living because he's living. Like, it's so different.
This is
it says something unlike anything I've ever seen.
Like you were kind of saying, the plot or the plot may be simple, but the way it goes about it, and the things it says while doing the plot is anything but simple. And we haven't really seen anything like this before, and this is top tier Pixar for sure. But Sam, do you have any other thoughts before we rate this one out and put it on our Pixar list?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think I have it all summed up almost.
Good. I'll just
almost.
say, yeah, we should say, like, we could go on and talk about this. One more thing I forgot to say, but I thought was funny is the amount of mentors 22 had was cool. And just so funny.
Yes.
Loved that. That was cool.
Yeah, and it's not often that you don't really have like cultural references in Pixar movies like that.
Right. No, you don't.
And for the first time we have like she quotes like dozens of just like historical figures.
Yeah.
Like, famous people who mentored her.
Everyone,
which was really funny.
To Muhammad Ali. Awesome.
Muhammad Ali.
So awesome movie. Sam, should we should we rate this first or kind of place it on a Pixar list?
Let's rate it and then put it on a Pixar list. I think
Okay.
that's how we should do it.
Yeah, I'll start with you. What do you got? What's your rating?
Oh, well, initially it was a high 3.5 stars. Now I kind of want to move it up to 4. I might have to recalculate.
Okay. Cool.
I put it at 78%. It's somewhere in there. It's really, really good. And I suspect that this episode will get a lot of listens just because, everyone in the world has Disney Plus for whatever reason. And yeah, it's really good. It's really enjoyable. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. So
Absolutely.
give it a watch.
Yeah, we should say we kind of consider our ratings to be somewhat fluid. I mean, time ages everything best, and time's the only truth teller. But
That's
I'm gonna
right.
say Soul is a 4 star for me as well. Really, really, really enjoyed this, and this is great Pixar. What else can you say? But yeah, so I got my Pixar list pulled up right here. Sam, I don't know if you have a definitive list, but just kind of think of where it's at. Pixar right
Yeah.
now, out of the 23 movies, I have Soul sitting at number 6 behind
Woo.
Toy Story 2, Toy Story.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, excuse me. I said The Incredibles was my 4. It is my 3. The Incredibles at number
okay.
3.
Okay.
Finding Nemo, Wall-E, and Soul. That's
Wow. Okay.
this is
Okay.
again subject to change. There's so many strong Pixar movies. I mean, Toy Story 3, Inside Out, Up, Ratatouille. There's so many good ones that it's hard to
Yeah.
place them. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I think, God, there's so many. And I'm just realizing I haven't seen probably a couple of the new ones. Good Dinosaur, didn't see that.
That's not.
Saw no reason in seeing that.
That's a stinker.
I didn't see Onward, really had no interest. But God, oh yeah, Ratatouille. God, Ratatouille is so good. Oh my God. But yeah, I would go something like The Incredibles, Wall-E, maybe then Soul. I would put it at number 3.
Okay.
And
Wow.
then maybe like Toy Story 3 and then Up. Probably something like that if I had to guess. But it's so hard.
I would say get on Letterboxd, create a list of all the ones you've seen. I think that'd be fun to see.
I might have to do that.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah, Soul, great movie. I mean, obviously we're giving it a recommend. So go check out Soul on Disney Plus. It is free, which is nice as well. Like if you have Disney Plus, you can see it. I think they didn't like their Mulan experiment where they made no money. So
They were not happy about it.
no. Yeah, so let's Sam, should we get into a recommendation?
Sure, let's get into a recommendation.
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Proud moment for me as of today, as of when we're recording this. I have now seen every Best Picture winner.
Really?
All 92 of them. There's some
Oh my God.
There's some doozies in there. Let me tell you that.
Oh.
And I would like to recommend my favorite and the Best Picture winner, in my opinion. Out of all 92, I have them all ranked on my Letterboxd. I'm recommending my favorite, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Let's go.
I probably shouldn't be the first one to recommend this on this show as Sam, that's your favorite movie, but I'm taking it. I'm saying it. It's my favorite Best Picture winner. Everyone go check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good pick. What can I say? You know.
Have you heard of it, Sam? Have you seen it? I don't know if you're aware of it. And I think we lost Sam for a second there. Give it 1 second. Oh, we're back. So Sam, have you heard of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? I'm not sure if you Have you seen
Yeah,
it?
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I heard it was okay.
All
I
right.
heard it was okay.
Not great. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm literally sitting in my room where I look to my left and a giant like 4 by 2 foot Cuckoo's Nest poster hangs.
Nice.
Like,
Good. Well, Sam, so that's my recommend. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What is your recommend?
I saw a pretty crappy movie last week. It's actually a newer release on I believe Amazon Prime now. It's called Uncle Frank, and the thing is kind of a bad movie, but I think there's some scenes in there which are really interesting and up for discussion. But again, it's pretty bad. So I don't know if I want to recommend it, but I think it's worth a watch for whatever reason.
Okay.
So it's a weird recommend, but check out Uncle Frank on Amazon Prime. It's a new movie. And some of the acting is really good. So
Interesting.
Uncle Frank.
All right. Cool. Uncle Frank. So until next time, where at the moment we are going to be doing The Midnight Sky. Who knows? We might pull an audible. We'll see. I really don't want to talk to The Midnight Sky. It's not great. So we'll see until next week. But Sam, until then, where can I find you on Letterboxd?
You can find me at letterboxd.com/sjdierberger if you're looking. And where can I find you, Will?
You can find me on Letterboxd at willspalding. And you can find us just in the U seminar, Finding Our Souls. But if you're not there, you can always find us at anchor.fm/thosefilmnerds and thosefilmnerds on Instagram and thosefilmnerds@gmail.com. If you have any questions or movie related things, send them in. Or thosefilmnerds on any podcast platforms as well.
Absolutely.
Check us out on all of those. But Sam, until next time,
Keep watching movies, everyone. Have a great week.
thank you.